Today for Britpop TV, we're in Manchester at the Hard Rock Cafe ahead of interviewing iconic 90s sleeve and art designer Brian Cannon. So what I'd really like to know, Brian, was how did you start to get into designing and creating things?
Well, I specifically set out to design record sleeves when I was very young, like still at school young. Having been influenced by punk rock and the Sex Pistols, it just blew me away. So I went on a bit of a mission to achieve that goal, and remarkably pulled it off. But what I did was after leaving school and doing my A-levels and such like, I did a degree in graphic design at Leeds Poly. And back in those days, it's a completely different gig to what it is now, because there's no computers.
There wasn't many designers around, was there?
Well, I mean, basically, everybody's a graphic designer all of a sudden, because you can do whatever you need to do on a laptop. Whereas back then, in the 80s, when I graduated, the hardware required to do the job cost 300 grand. So the only people who could do it were the big agencies. So you didn't have this sort of bijou little setup that you've got now, where, you know, there's more designers than there are hairdressers in the phone book, aren't there? Yeah. So I kind of, having graduated, set out on this one-man band mission to do it on my own, and I was warned by everybody that this wasn't possible, and I'm like, no, I can do this. And they were pretty much right. I didn't get any work, and I struggled for ages. But I refused to give in, and it was just a few chance, lucky meetings, really, that one thing led to another, and it snowballed, and it blew up massive in the end.
So when did you start with Microdot? How did that come about?
Well, Microdot, I actually graduated in 1988. I finished my degree in 88. But the Microdot moniker I came up with in 1990. I'd already been working professionally 2 years. And the reason why I came up with this, it was still me, just me, on my own. But can you imagine ringing, no internet obviously. You know, you had to physically ring people up or go and see them. Well, you had to ring them up to get an appointment first. And, oh, hello, I'm Brian Cannon, I'm a student just out of college, but the phone would be down before I'd finished what I was saying. So I invented this sort of alter ego persona of this Microdot, this design agency. That was, you know, wasn't just this one-man band, I was this design setup. That didn't work either, to be honest. I still didn't get any work. And it was, well, that's not true, I was getting bits and bobs, I had a couple, but nothing I mean, I was still getting sent food parcels by my mother, and I was 24. That's how desperate it was. And what happened, my lucky breaks were...
Were you based in Wigan at the time still?
No, I went straight to London. I was in London in 1988. Because I'd met this guy called Greg Wilson, who was involved in more the dance side of things, and he produced and managed a band called the Rap Assassins, which was Kermit's first band.
Yeah. Leverage.
Yes, yes, exactly. The first album sleeve I ever did was in 1990 for the Ruthless Rap Assassins, featuring Kermit, who went on to be in Black Grape, as a result of getting to know his manager through some street art graffiti I did years before. Really bizarre links. And then on the back of that, I was at a party in Wigan a couple of years later, and there just happened to be a couple of the sleeves. It was my ex-girlfriend's house whose party it was at. And there was a couple of sleeves that I designed at this party, and Richard Ashcroft used to go to the same sixth form. She's a few years younger than me, so is Rich. And they used to go to the same sixth form together. And we got chatting, what, you design record sleeves? Wow, you know, because it was dead unusual at the time, obviously. You know, most guys want to be footballers, rock stars, DJs, but you wanted to be a sleeve designer. Thought no more of it. And I bumped into him at 6 o'clock in the morning on a petrol station 3 years later, completely out of the blue. I was going to buy a pint of milk. Didn't have any milk as it goes, but... and they'd just been signed to Virgin, and he remembered me. Yeah. No way, you're that sleeve designer guy. We've just been signed, do you want the gig? And that was it. Wow. Yeah. Obviously, you're only as good as your last job, so they liked what I was doing. Then I kind of, by this time, I'd left London, I'd moved back to Manchester, because I was going to the Hacienda and all the bands, well, the Rap Assassins were in Manchester and all the rest of it. So, and I had a tiny office not far from here, just over there on Rochdale Road in a place called 23 New Mount Street. And in the same building, the Inspiral Carpets had their office. And that's how I got to meet Noel. I met him in a lift one day just talking about trainers. And he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm just designing record sleeves, or trying to, and I'm only just getting going, really. What have you done? I said, I'd just done, I think, the first 2 Verve singles at that point. And he said, wow, I like them. When, not if, when we get signed, you know, I'm in a band, I want you to do our artwork. That's how I got the Oasis gig. So pretty lucky, really. But like I said, you're only as good as your last job. The first thing I'd done from being rubbish, I wouldn't have got to do any more, would it? So, no. And that was that. So off we went then, and then we moved back to London in '95, just because it's hard to imagine now working in this field without internet. But every time you wanted to deliver a file, you had to physically take it to the client. You couldn't email it. There was no email. So, and these things were so, well, it wasn't even digital discs either. It was pasted up artwork on boards as big as this table. And that was so precious that I thought I'd have to physically drive to London to deliver any artwork. I thought, this is nuts. You know, I'm 400-mile round trip from my client here. So what happened was, to facilitate the move to London, which obviously cost a few quid, we had to get some premises, buy a load of equipment, because I was just using borrowing and borrowing and stealing at the time. I spoke to McGee and I said to Alan, can you front me enough money to do this against the work I'll do for Oasis this coming year? And I think I asked for 15 grand or something, which was a lot of money back. This is 20 odd years ago, you know. And he put me on to Dick Green, who's like his partner and more the business guy. And he's like, ugh. But they give me 10,000 quid, which I'll never forget. And I'll, you know, hats off to Alan and Dick for doing this for me, because they didn't have to, obviously. But that meant we had a studio in Shoreditch, which made the whole operation 10 times easier to, you know, logistically, because we were in London. We bought, you know, God, it's mad, you think, this is 20 years ago, bear in mind, we bought a Mac, which probably has less power than the mobile phone in my pocket, a massive monitor, which looked like an old-fashioned telly, it was about that deep, a black and white printer, and a really basic scanner, and that came to 5,000 quid. Wow. 20 years ago. Yeah. And it, honestly, most of the money gone. Yeah, precisely. And that equipment is not worth a carrot now. No. And literally, the mobile phone in my hand has got more brain power than all that equipment put together. But at the time, it was state of the art, and it was, you know, we were like, me and Matthew, Matt Sankey, who was my right-hand man, we were off then, and that were it. And but one thing we'd forgotten in this typical Microdot scenario, I forgot to factor in the cost of somewhere to live. Right. So we had to live in the studio until we sorted ourselves out. I mean, business went really well and it picked up. And after 3 months, we moved into Noel's old flat in Camden when he bought Supernova Heights. Yeah. So we were literally living on the floor in the studio, and there's no bathroom or anything. Can you imagine? Me and Matt for 3 months, and this is where the
men behaving badly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But we'd literally have a couch and some cushions on the floor, and we'd take it in turns who was sleeping where. And clients would be coming around in the morning, we'd have to get up, and this is where, like, you know, the good shit Microdot came from, because we'd have to stow the bunks, we'd have to hide any evidence that we'd been living in there before a client came round for a meeting. Fabulous times.